Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Just getting started. It is Tuesday, January 31st. We've gone a whole month, zero interruptions, no whammies. We've been making it. I've changed the panel a little bit some more if you notice. Thanks so much, Guesser FPS, for my last follow. That's pretty cool. If you want to follow me, come find me on the channel. Let's take a look at some of these channels that we have while we're getting started. We have the Twitch stream, which, yeah, we're live right here. I was given some notes saying that it said I wasn't live, but I went and looked at my settings. I couldn't find anything like that. We also, of course, have our GitHub repo for coding Curricula, where we've been working on our web dev for beginners. I call it Twitch right here, but it's a fork from Microsoft. Um, we've already seen the Twitch. I'm on Twitter at Coding Curricula. Have a lot of fun learning a lot on Twitter. I didn't know Twitter would be so helpful. Hello, viewer. Thanks for tuning in. Just giving a rundown of the channels I'm available on. And then we also have our YouTube. And YouTube is where I'm backing up all of these videos because I'm a Twitch newbie. So my videos get deleted after just a couple days. But don't worry, if you want to check out any of the videos in this series, they've all been saved to YouTube. That said, let's get going and talk about what we've done, where we're at, and where we're going. We've accomplished all this stuff. Looking back, it's pretty cool. This month, we went from introduction to programming, what are programming languages, all the way to where we made a game with a laser, collision detection, and scorekeeping. All of it included in the curriculum up here, and we worked through it together. We found some highs, some lows. There were some laughs and some tears. But we're starting our final project in this today, where we're talking about HTML templates and routes. And yeah, it's hard to understate how important templates and routes are. Whenever we talk about templates, everything nowadays, not everything, but so much stuff falls into the template category, like React JS that we're making our coding curricula.com in. It's a library, but one might call it a template, where you're following a specific format. We're also going like Vue, Angular, Laravel, Svelte, WordPress. Everything has templating to it nowadays because it's so super helpful to you. And routes, I think we're only going to be talking about front end routes in this lesson today, where it's like our index.html that's rendered by the browser, as well as our CSS and JavaScript. And we're not going to have any back end routes in this lesson, or in this curriculum, should I say. But in the next one, the next curriculum that we're doing together, I'm going to be pushing this all week. This upcoming project, the Odin project. And this has a few different paths, but we're going to be going down the full stack, intermediate HTML, CSS, JavaScript, advanced, Node.js, MongoDB. Maybe we'll even do the getting hired section. See what happens there too. But view full curriculum, I think it goes two paths. Yeah, we'll want the full stack JavaScript path. And I haven't decided. I'd love to hear some feedback. Should I do this in five days, or should I do it in 5 weeks? What sort of pace should I do? 51 lessons. Maybe each one gets a week. Because that's a lot to do in a day. But, I could make it a marathon, because that's another thing I'm learning about these streams. Say hi in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. These streams are only really good if they go on hours and hours and hours, and maybe necessarily we start taking goals. So if I got to do this for like 8, 10, 12 hours to knock one of these out, okay. But we're not doing that today. We're doing Monday through Friday, every day at 1 p.m. Central, right now, live, and we're on lesson 21. Before we dive into our HTML templates and front-end routing, like rendering different pages, like versus, you go to any website in the world, I don't want to say any, but, Microsoft.com. It typically follows this format right here that we're kind of emulating with our codingcurricula.com in a simpler way, right? Like you have a nav bar, navigation going across, a hero section, some icons leading to more things, and then here's bits of content or things that they're selling, and then it kind of goes on. And so, yeah, the main pages that you'll see on just about every page are going to be the home page, an about page, and like a contact or some sort of content page. Let's see what we're doing in this one. First, and those are the routes that we'll establish. So, like an about page versus our home page, and how you direct the traffic in there. Let's summarize what we're doing today. It's January 31st, lesson 21, and we're working on HTML templates and routes. And we want to update logs like we're doing right now. Also, do these HTML templates lesson. And then we also want to make some changes to our home page. What do we want to do? We got that done. We got this done yesterday. We cleaned up. That's forever on the list. They cleaned up the about. We fixed the footer. We fixed the history bug. So we have just this one. Or not just this one, but these perpetually on there. And then I have some things I want to add to. Whenever you look at the website right now, you have links to the curricula, but nothing on the web page, or nothing on the images themselves. So we want to fix that. We want to put href on curricula images. We also want to start working on some SEO tags, because I think I shared this link the other day, and I was really sad to see it say something like, create React app, and I'm like, okay, we can do better than that. And I also started an email sign-up component that we need to figure out, maybe put into production. I don't have an API endpoint for it, nor have I looked at the MailChimp integration. But we can still style that component and kind of put it in the wings until we are ready, because I think MailChimp makes it really easy to just pass an API key in there, and then huzzah, you're spun up with an SMTP server. So yeah, let's see what we can get done right here. Save this, update logs. Again, thanks for tuning in, and don't be scared to say hi in the chat. I'd love to hear from you and what you think of what we've been working on so far. Nope, that's not going to work. .com. Okay, so let's get started on lesson 21. I'm excited to get away from Space Invaders and take a look at some of these new projects. But we're going to build a banking app, and I glanced at it. We start with some boilerplate code. So, okay. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's do our pre-lecture quiz. No more fun infographics, unfortunately. You need to create multiple HTML files to display different screens in a web app. No. I mean, there's lots of different ways to render. There's single-page web applications. There's static. With statically generated, these aren't even statically generated. These are just created, hand-typed web pages. In this paradigm, yes, you would need to, like, as far as we know at this point, as far as we're supposed to know at this point, yes, I need like an index.html for my home page, and then I need like an about.html for my about page, and a contact HTML for my contact page. So I think it wants me to say true, even though I know it's false, so it's a weird one. I'm going to say true. I'm going to give the answer I think it wants. True, false, no. There's other ways to do it, of course. There's so many other ways to do it. You can store and persist data locally in a web app. Again, this feels like a loaded one, because we do have session storage. We do have local storage. I could assign a variable that I think taps out as something like, 2 megabytes or 256 kilobytes or something like that is the largest that something given with const or let in JavaScript can be, and after that, like, everything goes sideways. Um, but you're not supposed to. Okay, for persistent data, you turn to a database solution, something like, SQL with MySQL or PostgreSQL or MongoDB or Firebase or any of these data storage providers, because whenever we're talking about persistent data, it's not for these projects like we're making now as learners, in which we're making things like little, to-do lists and fitness trackers, and they're not production. They're developmental exercises. They're not production apps. But to persist your data locally, I want to say false. So yes, I mean, again, I knew you could with session ID and local storage, but these are tricky. Because it's like, at what point of knowledge are you assuming? What's the best data provider for a web app? A local database would be something like, MongoDB Community or MariaDB, MySQL. A JavaScript object, that's not the best. Because we can, like, if you restart your server, then it's gone. And a server with a JSON API. And if it's writing that JSON API to, like, a text document, or not even a text document, it could be, a .json file. So long as it's storing that .json, then that would be fine. So what's the best? I think the best out of all of these would be a local database. So then a server with a JSON API. Okay. See, yeah. I wonder what the justification for that answer was. I truly don't know. Like, why would it say, like, a database is not as good as, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Since the advent of the JavaScript in browsers, websites becoming more interactive and complex. As we've already kind of talked about, I think this is summarizing, our HTML is the skeleton of the web application. It's the foundation. Everything goes on top of it. Our CSS, cascading style sheets, is color, size, shape, and JavaScript is bringing us back around, and JavaScript is like the electricity that flows through it. If we're talking about a home, or, it's the movement and the action if we're talking about a person. In this lesson, we're going to lay out a bank web application using HTML templates to create multiple screens that can be displayed and updating without having to reload the entire HTML page. Okay. So you need a local web server to test the web app we'll build in this lesson. If you don't have one, install Node.js. Okay. So it wants us to get going. So let's get going. I will do a VS Code. I can't remember the last thing that was open for me. Some coding. I think I just made an open recent. Yeah, we can just trash all that. It's already. Delete that. Okay. And then we'll go in here and we'll say touch, index, HTML, style, CSS, and script.js. And then boom, with that one command, I have everything we need right here. And let's just open those. Now we have access to all three, and we can zoom in so we can see a little better. And hopefully we're just working on these three the whole time, and it doesn't have to get tricky. Okay. So I already have Node.js installed. It's kind of weird that it's saying, hey, you can install it now. But we're in here, and once you're in here, then you actually, here, we can delete all this junk. I just need to type something to bring these up. Let's do npm init --y. And if we're looking inside, then it gives us a package JSON script. It gives us a package JSON, which gives us a basic script and tells us our entry point into the JavaScript. And then it wants us to add npx light server from your project directory. So npx, which is node package executable, and light server. I've never used that. So it's asking to install. Sure. It's not surprising. I've never used it before. Okay. So now this script.js, I guess, is hosted here. I don't know. Let's see. It's preparation on your computer. Create a blank folder inside it, and we'll start it from this HTML boilerplate. So emit one exclamation point gives us a blank HTML document. Let me zoom out just a touch. We'll say 150. There we go. That helps a little bit. And we're going to call this a bank app. And I think that's literally the same thing we got here. Looks like I just have one more tag in here, and that's the only difference. So not bad. Login PHP, it's calling PHP stuff. No, we're not going to be working in PHP. So if you want to create multiple screens for a web page, one solution would be to create one HTML file for every screen you want to display. That's absolutely true. I mean, that's the like the WordPress way of doing it, and but they still use templates, and it's the data that you plug into it to where it renders differently. However, this solution comes with some inconvenience. You have to reload everything. It's difficult to share the data between the different screens. I can see that. I've never tried to do that. I've always had single page application where if you need to share it from one screen to a next, then you can instantiate some state or maybe even pass something up the tree. Another approach is having one HTML file and define multiple HTML templates using the template element. Okay. Template, ID, product, row. Cool. So we'll create a bank app with two screens, the login page and dashboard. Let's add the HTML and a placeholder element that we'll use to instantiate the different screens in our app. So first we need a div with an ID of loading in our body. And then below that, loading, we'll also need a template for the login page right here. We ought to have that in a conditional, you would think, where it says if waiting on some data, then. But anyways, next let's add some HTML. So we got that. Then we'll add another HTML template for the dashboard page. This will contain different sections. So this one up here only had a section for the dashboard. And then I guess this continues to go inside of the body. So we have a div, a section for loading, a template for logging in, and a template for the dashboard. Okay, so you've got like 3 pages combined into this one index.html. Why do you think we use ID attributes on the templates? Well, because we're going to be calling JavaScript and we'll be grabbing that element by ID. Could we use something else like classes? We could, but we're probably going to be styling things, and yeah, you would just call query selector. So what happens? It's serving this up. It looks like it's serving that up. So let me save. Reloading browser. And let's go to this 3000 and see if it gives us a web page. Loading. I mean, it gave us loading. Okay. Loading section. I mean, I guess that's good. It's going from one to the next. What happens if we cut that out? Then nothing's there. Okay. See, I would think you would do a conditional. If no data then it's loading, else you render a template of login. But we'll see where we're going. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. So displaying your templates. So right now all we've got is loading. It's not displaying any templates. If you try, yeah, and that's right, and we're doing well. All it will say is loading in the browser because we need to add some JavaScript to instantiate and display that template. So retrieve it from the DOM. Let's go to our script and say, what do we want to grab? We're going to get element by ID. Well, we're grabbing the element. So which ID did we give it? The login. So const of login. No is document get element by ID login. Did we do that right? Let's close that. ID of login, get element by ID login. Good. And we'll also need ID of dashboard and something of ID of app. So let's start with that. Const app and const dashboard. So we've got anything else in here have an ID? Dashboard, app, login, dashboard. No, those are the three IDs. Okay. So retrieve the template element in the DOM, for example, using document get element by ID. Clone the template element using clone node. So clone the template element. Clone node. Attach it to the DOM under a visible element, for example, using append child. What is this clone node? Clone node login. And then clone node dashboard. Template elements. And then attach it to the DOM under a visible element. So we would add the clone elements to the DOM. Append child, login. Yeah, you get the app and pin child. So now we save. What have we got? It's giving us a 304. Inspect console. What's it say if we console log just hello? See, we're not getting the JS. We don't have it imported correctly. So we should, to make it work, we need to script source dot script. There we go. Clone node is not defined. I'm still not seeing my hello world. What happens if, maybe that's because it's crashing. There we go. So now we know it's working. How do we instantiate this clone node? Let's go back to our notes, or clone node of deep. So we would say let p prime clone node true. Okay, let's try this again. So, okay. Let login clone, I like that, equal login dot clone node true. Login dot clone node true. Try it like that, where we're keeping this exact same example. And we did it, but it didn't give us what we wanted. What happens if we let it do it like it wanted? Login clone. What happens if we console login clone document fragment? And what does this have in the content? The children section. Text content. I think that's what we want instead of content. What if we say text content? Text content, and then save. Still nothing. What are we doing? So now an app, create a new file named app. Display, so maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. So task, let's follow their instructions explicitly. We're going to say app.js, and then we'll go back to our HTML, and we'll just Control-Shift-K, hide that, pull out our script, and then say, hey, here's another script with a source that we'll call app. And it wants us to defer this. Defer, and we want a function of update route. And in this function, what's it do? You pass in the template ID. You pass in the template ID and document get element by ID. And of the template content clone node true. View app DOM. So let's see. Did that didn't change anything either. It looks familiar, but we need to instantiate it. And so we'd have to call update route, right? And see, boom, there, it gives you bank app. That looks better. All right. Cool. And then now creating the routes. And when talking about a web app, we call routing the intent to map the URL to specific screens, right? So usually this index HTML is represented by just a /. That's all we show right there. And then login HTML, login, admin, then your home admin, things like that. That goes back to the anatomy of a URL, and it's pretty important to know at any stage in web development. So if you create a web server with this as a root, then it'd map like that. And that's true. Like your site.com is referencing your index, while the login's pulling the login, and admin, you don't see that index. So we'll use a simple object to implement a map between URLs in our template and add this object at the top of your app.js. So we're going to say something like const of routes, and that's an object, /home, okay, login, dashboard, and that should be it. Okay. Now let's modify the update route function. Instead of passing directly the template ID as the argument, we're not going to do that. We want to retrieve it first at the current URL, then use our map to the corresponding template ID. So cut that, delete it, and then say const of path is your window location path name. And then const of route is route array of path. Then you've got template, which is going to be your route.template ID. Route.template ID. Okay, and you're cloning the node, you're adding it to the app, no inner HTML, and you're appending your app view. Okay, so let's see what happens when we save it. Reading null of content on line 12. Because it should be template ID. No. Wants to give me template here. What happens now? Null on content on line 12. Let's copy and try pasting. It doesn't look like anything changed. Yeah. Template. So route. Now what's going on? No reading content of 12 on line 12. So how would we do this? Let's try. There we go. So where was the bug? We need to make a note of that. Location, window, path name. Here, I'm going to copy that. Open up a notepad. I want to find what was the exact difference. Then back it up. Alright, so all that's good. Document, get element by ID. It didn't like this. Template ID. And does that come from... Yeah? That's a bug in the code. Okay, so we need to copy and paste. Is it because... Oh, that's our bad. We didn't amend our routes right here, so it didn't have that template ID to reference. That's why it was flagging us. So let's go up here and amend this to where they're no longer just a string of login, but they're actually taking an object. So it's a object with a template ID of login, title, login. Okay, cool. Register, whatever. And then now we should be able to say template ID, and let's see what happens. Now see, it's still got a bug. See, but what happens if we copy and paste that? And we just say, screw our hard work. We'll do what the man says. And then it works. Okay. And you log out, log in, and you're routing. Okay. Cool. What happens if you enter an unknown path in the URL? Like 404, it just gets stuck on loading. And how could we solve this? You would handle for any unknown paths. You'd set it up to where if your routing goes, how about this? You would say / any template ID 404. And so I guess we need a template with an ID number of 404. Yeah. No, yeah. So template. No, we don't want one transaction. We want one with an ID of 404. Let's see what happens. About. Did we instantiate it the right way? No. Template app pass 404 template ID. Now we go anywhere and it doesn't like it. Let's just get rid of that then. How about that? What did I do wrong? I broke it? Stop our server. Start. What was the last thing we did in here? What is wrong? Undefined app line 10 template ID. What did I do? Don't even know. Update route. Still broken. What did I do? Counts routes. Nothing changed there. Still broken. Template ID. How did I break all this? This entire system. Cannot read properties. Reading template ID. Template ID. Template ID. Template ID. No. Why would you not? Why would you suddenly stop? I go back to before. The silly change I made. I think right there. Nope. Back it up a little bit more. It's not at all going to work there. I don't know. I don't want to wrestle with it too much. I don't know why it suddenly decided to be ridiculous on me. Jesus. Okay, moving on. We had it working. We got clever, and then now for some reason the copy paste doesn't work. That's weird. Adding navigation. So let's create a new function that we'll use to navigate with our app. And so we'll say, hey, there, function navigate, where we call that path window history. That's important. You can invoke, anytime you're in the window, you have access to the history object, and then you can do all sorts of stuff to navigate with it. So update the route function, if we can get this to work. If there's no route, then return to login. Otherwise, you're doing good, right? You should be fine. And it wants us to put that right under here. Did that help? Yeah, for some reason. That solved all of our problems. That makes sense. So we log in, log out, and I go back, and I go forward. Okay, cool. All right. And if the route cannot be found, we'll now redirect to the login page. Let's create a function to get the URL when a link is clicked and prevent the browser's default behavior. So function on link click right here. Let's complete the navigation systems by adding these two links, or these two buttons, to the HTML. I guess we'll put that, I mean, where does it want us to put these? In the HTML. At the top? Maybe above the, I guess it would need to go above our loading, right? Log in, log out, log in, log out, like a navigation bar. Because if you move it below, then it would look weird, wouldn't it? Or no, I guess it might just render below the templates. Yeah. And now anywhere you go, it's available. But I think I like it better up top. There we go. We'll keep it there. Like a nav bar. And handling the back and forward using history and push creates new entries in the browser navigation. To make sure the displayed state template is updating when the browser history changes, we'll attach a new function that calls update route. We'll do this at the bottom of the app.js file. So at the bottom of our app.js, window on pop state, update route, and then call update route without passing anything in. Does that mess anything up? No. Log in. All the forward and back buttons are working fine. Good. Okay, no whammies on that. And we could start styling if we wanted to, but I think we've already gone a little too long. Challenge. Add a third page and a new template route. That shows credit. I want to, but I also don't want it to break me. Let's say profile. Okay, that's good. Yeah. And then give it another template. And we would say with 90 of profile, or is what we just called it. So we need an ID of profile. Yeah. Save. See what happens. Log in. Log out. Log in. Doesn't ever tell us when to show the what do you call it? The profile button. Let's make a button right here for profile. Boom. And go to profile. Okay, it works. You would say your name, your email, and save it. Okay, we accomplished that goal. Cool, that was easy enough. All we had to do was establish a route to what template that we needed, and then they just called the function for us whenever we went to that route. Cool. I didn't know about that HTML tag. I've been thinking of making a short form video series that does every single HTML tag. How many HTML tags are there? Something like 150, right? I can't even get a good answer. 142 is what it says right here in HTML5. So I think that would be a fun short form video series where we do in like under 5 minutes. Here's this HTML tag. Here's what it does. Here's what it looks like. Here's how you use it. Here's an example. So HTML templates are part of the DOM by default. That's true. No. They're not. You need to add them with JavaScript, I guess. Okay. Which part of the URL is needed for routing? Window location path name. We use that one. Is window location origin? That could be something too. Let's Google. Let's cheat. Is window.location.origin a thing? Let's say both. Yes. That was another one of those tricky questions. Whomever wrote these this test, they put some thinking into it. Good for them. So what's the name of the event triggered when calling the history push state function? What's the name of the event triggered? I mean, it's push state. No, well, the event that's actually happening as you're messing with the state of your history is navigation. So it would be asked, like, what's the name of the event? Was that a keyboard event? Was that a A click event, a mouse event, a tap event. What was it? I think it was a navigate event. Nope. Okay. That's the obvious answer. It's got to be push state. Nope. It's not push state. It's not navigate. It's pop state. Okay. All right. Good to know. Routing is surprisingly tricky part of web development. Yeah, no joke. Especially on very large data sets. Read a little bit about how the Azure Static Web App Service handles routing. Good plug, Microsoft. Maybe next time. An assignment: improve the routing. What was this? Give titles to each template and update the window title. Oh, maybe in our own time. We're already behind. So that was a good lesson. I learned some stuff. It was easy to follow along. We didn't get lost. And this is a manageable amount of code, I think, for web dev for beginners. 30 lines or so, not 50 to 100 or more. Cool. Okay, let's do what we wanted to, coding Curricula.com. To do so, let's close this. Pull up our local, or not that one. We don't want that one. We want Coding Curricula, the website. Visual Studio. And we're looking for an NPM start. And we have a list of things that we want to do. What was that list? Yes. It's getting long. That's what's happening with the list. href on the images. That'll be easy. So let's do that first. That would be on the components for project, our project component. And we'll just copy and paste this href image. It should already. Huh. But it didn't. Strange. Maybe it's because I need a link. Let's say import link from React Router DOM, and inside of here we'll go like that, and then we'll say link cut we need this, the alt. See what happens now. And everything broke. Why did everything break? Woo! Error occurred in the image component. Prop 2 is marked in link, but its value is undefined. It doesn't like this. So maybe if I just change it to an A, an anchor. What happens now? What if I put the A around it? Exit. And then where to go? To a close this. Thank you. Chat isn't that. Thanks for the follow. What happens now? Nothing. Oh, well, at least it's not dead. It didn't blow up on us. That's good. No, but it didn't like that. Say thanks for the follow. That means a lot. I had to. It's followers only chat. All right. Well, I didn't know it was followers only chat, but it's still good to hear from you. I'll check that setting later. I want to hear from everybody. So what are we doing? Let's React, Bootstrap, image. What do we want to say? href or link. If in doubt, check the docs. Rounded circles. What is that abomination? What abomination? The documentation? Thumbnail, rounded circle. It doesn't say. JS? Oh, we're working in React JavaScript. So JSX. JavaScript extensible. You know. I'm actually wanting to go look at the T3 stack. Have you heard of the T3 stack? TypeScript end-to-end. It's pretty cool. I was thinking of making a project using this. I just started like a TRPC tutorial right before I got into this, but I was like, wait, let me finish some of my other projects before I start a new start going down a new rabbit hole. And I looked on Indeed, and like nobody's hiring for TRPC yet or any of this T3 stuff. It's way too experimental. So, but yeah, I know all the cool kids are using TypeScript. I need to start instantiating it. I ought to be doing better with TDD too, my test-driven development. But I needed a website, and so this is some cowboy coding. Seethe cope. Well, so that's not working. Back to trying to give this. What I'm trying to do is just give this image an href. That way, whenever we click on it, boom, it goes somewhere else. I like the front end though. I feel like the front end is kind of like magic. You know, whenever you do something, you enter it in, and boom, everything's moving around, and you can immediately play with it. It's almost gamified. And I've heard good things about Svelte, absolutely. And Laravel, I've been wanting to get into Laravel for a while. I had a really rough interview with Next.js, and I can't stand to bring myself to use their product after a really bad interview. But not Svelte Kit. I'll remember that. Any framework that's going to handle your authentication and your authorization for you, yeah, please do. Please help me out with that, because it's such a pain. Svelte, Alt, href. What if I just give it 2? That's probably not anything, no. Link is defined but never used. Why? That's easy. And needs to be done correctly. The authentication authorization, exactly. Well, yeah, like you said, it's because it needs to be done correctly. And there's so many ways that you can just mess it up. You have the frameworks that come with it, but auth-z and auth-n? I'm going to Google that now. What is that? How are they different? Oh. Those are your abbreviations. Auth-N and Auth-Z. I just always called them Auth. Auth and Auth. Cool abbreviations. Nice to meet you, man. What do you like to develop in then, besides TypeScript? And if you don't like the front end, what are you working on? Load an image, so React. Maybe he gives us a quick answer here. Image, it just says src, or we tried this, wrapping in an anchor tag, or with link. Okay, we didn't try wrapping it with link. So let's say link. Link. Link to... So I see TypeScript, Go, and RS. Is that Rust? Ruby? I'm the definition of the cool kid. I'm so uncool, I don't even know what your stack is. I did get a free Go tutorial the other day. It was free. I signed up for it. Whether or not I actually get it done and do it, that's going to be a different thing, right? Okay. Did this work? Yeah. Well, now it sent me to / the Odin project. That's not good. That's not what we wanted. Say href then? Now, if we go back, and then we go down to it, doesn't like the prompt type. Undefined. Prop is marked. Why would you need a tutorial for Go? That's like... I haven't started on it at all, though, yet, man. And I just get started, like most people, with a tutorial, do a little tutorial hell until next thing you know, I'm off and running and making my own projects. And I haven't done any C. I don't have any background in like the actual computer sciences of object-oriented computer programming. I'm a student of like WordPress. I got dropped into WordPress, like the because it's like the gateway drug for web development, where you're just spinning up sites with a few clicks. Next thing you know, I needed to know more stuff about this CSS and this index HTML file and all of these other things. And I went to a boot camp, and after a while, I started teaching this stuff. And I work very much in the MERN stack. You know what MERN is? MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. And then also, or sometimes some PostgreSQL lately. All right, yeah. They have a built-in IDE. Cool. I like these a lot better than a tutorial. You're absolutely right. I don't like I said, I got the tutorial. It was free on Udemy. I ought to recommend it. I mean, but I haven't sampled it yet, so I really shouldn't. But it was free, so I signed up for it. I was working at a startup, and I heard the CTO of that startup say, if you want to make more money, just learn some Go. So, and ever since then, that would be my first big pivot. It's either that or Python. Why do you say that? Why don't you like Mongo? It's what they're teaching in all of the boot camps nowadays, more or less, because of the way that they've abstracted away their database and made it to where it's almost like JavaScript JSON from top to bottom. And its stock's been popping. I think, what was it, last month? It popped like 30% in a single day. Oh, you used to work with it. Yeah, so, I mean, it's easy. And I did have another guy I worked with say that he would never use Mongo just because he didn't trust it with his data. And he thought they'd lose his data, but I don't know. I thought maybe he was just being a jerk. It's easy and it's worthless. Yeah. It lost some data? Is that what happened? Yeah. That's funny. I feel like now I ought to write an I'm sorry letter, but he was also a jerk, so no, I'm not doing that. There were at least two bugs. Well, that's, I feel like that's what happens. Like you said, if it's easy, then sometimes it's worthless. Sometimes the best way to do things is sometimes the hardest way, because then you're cutting through the abstraction and the BS, and you're just getting to work. That's what I think will all of this AI and Chat GPT. I think that's how that's going to change the world. Is this going to get rid of the React and the jQuery and these other things, and they'll just be able to do it for you, maybe even in assembly, right? It'll be interesting to see how that shakes up. Thanks so much for joining me, man. It's awesome having somebody to chat with. I gotta bounce. Today was our HTML templates and routes lesson. Tomorrow we're doing some forms. Then we'll be talking about data and state management. Once we're done with this web dev for beginners from Microsoft this week, then next week or maybe the following week, I might take a couple days off, but we're going to pivot to the Odin project. Yeah, and I also have a personal project that I'm going to be spinning up in my free time that I'll be streaming the development of. I bought some of those big giant inflatable bounce houses. And so we're going to make a localized SEO version. Then it needs to have server-sized rendering for content that's searchable in search engines or indexed in search engines. So we're going to be using a different stack. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, man. Everybody have a great day. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.